Hey you guys, I am coming back with another video. This video is going to be a little different, as you can see by the title. I wanted to share something personal with you all. I knew this was something that I needed to share, just because I try my hardest to be very transparent on this channel, and it's definitely a part of life. It's something that you know many have experienced, and unfortunately, this was something that I experienced here recently. So I had actually found out that I was pregnant on April 25th. I had took a pregnancy test. It came back positive. I took another one on the 26th that morning just to make sure. It also came back positive. And, to kind of give you a background before this took place, I have been having dreams of me and my husband having another baby. And, sometimes when you dream, you don't always know if it's in a literal sense or if it's, spiritually. And for a while, I was kind of taking it spiritually. But the way the dreams kept coming, in the sense of they were so detailed, I began to realize that this was something real, like that God was going to bless us with another child. Now, I'm 40, and I'm actually going to have a birthday this month, and I'll be 41, Lord willing, in a few more weeks. And so you hear, people say sometimes that, when you're in your 40s, it's difficult, well, it can be difficult to have another child. But, for me and my husband, it was kind of like we would have those moments where we would talk about, like, what it would be like to have another one. And then we would think of, maybe we should just be okay with, where we are, and, just enjoying, the children that we already have, and just, enjoy watching them grow and become, young men. But that thought started really coming to me more frequently, as far as, just the thought of having another child. And I had, had a personal experience with the Lord where He had specifically told me that He was going to bless me with another child. And, I was having one of those moments where, like when the angel came to Sarah and, told her that, God was going to bless her and Abraham with a child. And, naturally she laughed, because it was like, you mean you're going to wait until now to bless me with a child, when this is something that I've always wanted? And, you wait until I'm in my old age to, you want to do this. And I'm not saying that I am as old as Sarah, but, it just seems, when you look at it from a medical standpoint, the chances of becoming pregnant starts to become more harder. So when the Lord told me that, I was like, okay, but at the same time, I really embraced it, because I was in that place where I would be okay with having another child. Like, it wasn't something that I just completely was against. And, I had talked to my husband, and, he was on board. I was kind of surprised that he was so on board with it. And, we, in all honesty, we took it upon ourselves to make it happen, because I felt like, I'm having these dreams, the Lord personally told me he was going to bless us with a child. And I just took that and I ran with it. And for 8 months, we were trying. And that leads us up until April, when I found out that we were pregnant. And we were so excited. We was just making plans. I was taking my prenatals. I was eating really healthy. I became so attached, to this baby, and I loved this baby, and I was just so excited to experience pregnancy again, because, I enjoyed being pregnant with both of my sons. And even though the circumstances were a little different, because when I was carrying the both of them, my husband was not able to be as involved. And I knew this pregnancy would be so much different, because his job now is more flexible to where he could, really experience a lot of the things that unfortunately he missed during the other two pregnancies. But I was just so excited, and my husband was so excited. And I went for my first appointment, and they confirmed the pregnancy, and that just made it that much more real. This was in May. I believe it was May 7th when we went for the first appointment, and we was just so excited. And so while we were at the doctor's appointment, they scheduled a first ultrasound 2 weeks later. And those 2 weeks were just so nerve-wracking, because that was something that we both was just looking forward to, being able to see the baby. Because I feel like when you really receive that first ultrasound, it really hits you like, this is real. And finally, the 2 weeks came, which was May 22nd. And we're in the ultrasound room, and she, is doing her thing, and we're looking at the screen. We can clearly see the baby. We could clearly see the sac that the baby was in. And she told us, she said, it's showing that you're 6 weeks, 5 days. The gestational sac, which is where the baby was, which is where the baby is supposed to be. She said that it looked abnormal, and there was no heartbeat. And I didn't know how to feel in that moment, because on one hand, it was like when I heard her say that, it didn't really register to me that something was wrong. I just assumed maybe we went in too early. Maybe the dates were not as accurate as I thought. And, I think we kind of asked her, like, what does that mean? And she said, well, usually this far along in pregnancy, there should be a heartbeat. And when she said that, that's when it really hit us, something's wrong. This is not what we expected. And you guys, you have to understand, those 2 weeks seemed like forever, because we were so excited. We were so looking forward to this first ultrasound, and to finally be there on that day to receive this type of news, like, it was just completely devastating. And she told us, she was going to send a report to my doctor, for me to go ahead and take my time and get dressed. And when she left the room, I couldn't move. Like, I just cried, because I couldn't understand why this was happening. Like, this was not making sense to me, because I felt like, I'm 40, I'm pregnant, I received the dreams. I heard the Lord personally tell me he was going to bless us with another child. And it's like, I'm pregnant, I'm thinking all of this is everything that, was coming to fruition, and you're telling me that there's no heartbeat. You're telling me that something's wrong and this is not normal. And I just broke down, and I could see my husband was trying to be strong, and he looked at me and he was like, you know, we can get a second ultrasound just to confirm this. And I was like, you know, what are you saying? And he was like, I'm believing that this baby is okay. He said, I'm going to believe that when we come back, you know, to do a second ultrasound, we're going to hear a heartbeat. And so I literally in that moment decided that, you know what, I see that my husband is choosing to stand on faith, and I'm going to stand on faith with him. And that's what we did. We had to go to the doctor right after the ultrasound, you know, and it was so hard because, you know, the nurse came in and she was saying how sorry she was. You know, the doctor came in afterwards, was saying how sorry, you know, she was. But yet we had made up in our mind that we wasn't going to accept that news. We wasn't going to accept that report, because we chose to believe that God was going to do a miraculous miracle, that we were going to hear a heartbeat. And so when I told the doctor, you know, I know what the radiologist said, you know, but we're choosing to believe that there's still hope. And I could tell by the look on her face, she was surprised, but at the same time, she understood that, you know, we wanted to just be sure. And so she told us, you know, we can definitely come back in 10 days and do a second ultrasound just to see, you know, maybe maybe the dates were off. You know, she really made us feel like us wanting to choose to be hopeful was nothing wrong with that. That she understood it, she welcomed it, and I really appreciated that with my doctor. And so we left that hospital. We were literally in faith. But I'm telling you, those 10 days were very hard and very trying, because my husband during this time, he was a rock. Like, he was a rock. He did not waver one bit. But it's different when you are experiencing something that involves you so intensely, because this wasn't something on the outside that I was choosing to believe. Like, I was carrying this child. I felt the connection, the emotion. It was all there. And it was such a hard time for me, because there would be times where I truly believed that this baby was going to be okay, because I loved this child. Like, I really was connected. And then there were parts of me where I felt like I had to prepare myself in case if things didn't play out the way that I wanted it to. So it was like I was struggling with faith, and also I was struggling with also trying to prepare myself mentally and emotionally, you know, for the opposite result. And so the 10 days finally passed. We went back to the ultrasound. They did the second ultrasound, and she told us that the baby had stopped growing. It actually lost size to the point where it was now 5 weeks, 9 days. And also there was no heartbeat. And so we knew that the baby truly was gone. And, you know, she didn't say a word. The person who did the ultrasound, it was like dead silence. And I know we was in there for maybe 10 minutes, but it seemed like we were in there so much longer, because all you could hear was just her mouse clicking. And when she got done, she said, you know, I'm going to send the report to your doctor. You can go ahead, get dressed, take your time. And me and my husband, again, we just sat there in silence. And this time, my husband was the one who broke down, because I feel like in that moment, I was so numb that I couldn't really feel what was going on in that point, because I don't know, I was just so numb. And my husband really broke down, because he really believed in his faith. You know what I'm saying? He really stepped out on his faith. And we left and went to the doctor, and she told us that, sometimes these things happen. It has nothing to do with anything that I did, my husband did. And, she just let us know that just because this happened, it doesn't mean that, you can't have a successful pregnancy. And, that if we wanted to try again, that is okay. But just allow my body time to heal. And so in that same conversation, she gave me 3 options. She said, either you can wait until the baby passes on its own. We can give you a pill to help the pregnancy pass, or you can have DNC surgery. And of course, we wasn't even in the frame of mind to make a decision like that. We just told her, we'll have to, take some time to think about this, because, this is something I've never experienced before. I've known people who have experienced miscarriages, but I personally have never experienced a miscarriage. And it was so many floods of emotions, and it was just so much that I was feeling in that moment. I just couldn't think straight. And so we left the doctor, and I just, I really didn't know how to feel. You know what I mean? Like, I took it extremely hard. I feel like I was at a very dark place, because I felt like, number one, it did not make sense to me why I was literally experiencing this situation, because I thought this was the blessing that God said I was going to receive, and it's being taken away. And I just couldn't process it, in my mind, because nothing was making sense to me. And then on top of that, I'm feeling the pains of the loss, because I was so attached, emotionally, and, all of the plans that we were making, it's like all of that was just taken away. And then I was also dealing with the fear of having to process, or try to process, psychologically, how I was going to deal with actually experiencing, this pregnancy, passing through my body. Like, I just didn't feel like I was mentally equipped to handle that type of situation. I didn't want to take a pill because, again, I was afraid of, to me, in my mind, it made me feel like I was aborting a pregnancy, and it was just messing with me mentally. And the surgery was definitely something that I really didn't want to do. So it was like I had all these 3 options, and neither one of them was something that I wanted to do. And time went by. I still hadn't passed pregnancy. And I called my doctor. I was, telling her that, nothing was still happening. I didn't feel comfortable taking a pill. And I started asking her more about the surgery. Now, here's the thing. During this time, I really didn't talk to a lot of people about what I was going through. It was just solely my husband and my really good friend that I confided in during this time. And, even though I know people who personally have had miscarriages, what they dealt with, their miscarriage was more where they passed the pregnancy naturally. The pregnancy just passed naturally. And my situation was different, because mine was a missed miscarriage, which means my body was not responding to the loss. My body was still, experiencing the pregnancy hormones. My body was still acting as if I was carrying a baby. And so because of that, The first option they gave me was just not working. The baby was just not passing because my body could not respond to the loss. And then also, the pill was not a guarantee, because there have been many people, and even my doctor confirmed, that you can take the pill to terminate the loss or to cause your body to respond to the loss so the baby can pass. But sometimes, women still have to do a DNC. So I just felt like the pill wasn't even a foolproof option, to begin with. So really my only resort was the surgery. And I was really terrified of that because I've never had to have surgery before. I did a lot of prayer on this, and it was just, the whole situation was just so traumatic for me because, it's one thing to experience a loss, Sorry. It's one thing to experience a loss. It's another thing to have to try to process, on top of that, getting surgery to have that baby removed. Because it was like my attachment was so strong to this baby that my body just couldn't let go. Sorry, you guys. So on June 7th, I had the DNC surgery. It was considered more of a outpatient surgery because it lasted about 30 minutes to an hour. And my doctor confirmed that, the surgery went well, everything was removed. And we had genetic testing done to, find out exactly what caused the loss of the pregnancy. And it took me a few weeks to really heal and recover physically. Mentally, I really relied on prayer. My husband, myself, my really good friend, they really went into prayer for healing for me because I honestly didn't know how I was going to come out of that. Because like I said, I was in a very dark place, and emotionally I just was so completely done. I felt just so down in a way that I haven't felt before. And I really just relied heavily on God to just help me through that, because that was a very hard place that I was in. And I'm so grateful for God helping me to heal, because my thing was, I didn't just want to heal. I wanted to heal correctly. I wanted to make sure I fully could understand why all of this was allowed. And I'm sorry this video is so long. But God really helped me through this, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for my husband and my friend who really was there for me more ways than they know. But that's pretty much what I and my husband recently have gone through. I'm in a better place. I really am. It's just, talking about it, it's still emotional for me. And it could be because it's still so fresh, but it was definitely something that I know God allowed, because here's the thing. When you look at Sarah and you look at how, the angel of the Lord told her that he was going to bless her with a child, it didn't happen quick enough for her. So she took matters into her own hands. And she had Abraham sleep with one of the handmaids, one of the servants, and he had Ishmael. And the reason why I can speak on this is because this is how the Lord began to help me understand why this was allowed. In so many ways, I took matters into my own hands. I did not wait on God to give me what he said he would give me. I took control of the situation, and I, started to make plans to make this happen as quick as possible. And as a result, we ended up getting pregnant, but because it wasn't in God's will and it wasn't in God's time, and it wasn't God actually making this happen, that's why the pregnancy couldn't continue. And I understand. I do understand that. And it taught me a very valuable lesson because, in so many ways we do say that, we're putting things in God's hands. We're, just letting, God do what he said he's going to do in our life. But sometimes even the smallest things, we don't fully understand that God also wants to have control over those areas too. In my naiveness, I didn't know that just me and my husband planning for pregnancy and, doing the things that you do to try to, cause that to happen, to come into play. I was thinking that that was so innocent and it was so normal and that it was harmless. But what I didn't understand was I was still doing it in my own strength. I was doing it in my own, timing. I was putting myself in control instead of letting God be in control. And so not in any shape, form do I believe that this was God's punishment. I just believe that God was wanting to teach me a valuable lesson in helping me to see that, in all things, you have to let me be in control. In all things, you have to wait on me. And it was a hard, it was a hard experience, but I appreciate it, And I do know that, I will see that child again. I do believe that with all my heart. And the genetic testing did come back about 3 weeks later, 2.5 to 3 weeks later, and it was discovered that the baby had double sets of chromosomes. And the doctor explained to me that that's one of the popular reasons why a pregnancy is lost in the first trimester. Either it can be because there were two sperms that penetrated an egg, and that can cause double chromosomes, or one sperm that penetrated the egg could have had double genetics. So, but that was what caused the pregnancy loss. The baby had double chromosomes. It was too many chromosomes, and you can't survive. And even in rare cases where a baby is, where a woman births a baby full term, with that type of situation, the child, sometimes it dies shortly after, and sometimes it can grow and become a child and become a young man or a young woman, but it will have all types of problems. They won't be able to really thrive in life, they will have to have someone taking care of them for the rest of their life. So, you know, in all things, God know what he's doing, and he has a perfect plan for us. And we may not always understand the whys as to, you know, why God allows certain things. He know what he's doing, and he knows what's best. So I just wanted to share this with you all. You know, I always, like I said, I try to be as transparent with you all, with what I go through, because this is real life and nobody's perfect. We all go through things. We all go through really hard things. And it's within those things that we go through where we're given opportunities to truly learn and grow and become more wiser, you know, to, you know, understand God that much more. And, you know, as Christians, you know, we just have to be able to have a healthy mindset when we're going into situations and when we're coming out of them, because it's really the only way we can truly mature and grow in this walk with the Lord. And I'm just coming to you as a real person, a human being, one who is not perfect, one who has flaws and weaknesses. You know, I really had a hard time going through this, and I depended heavily on God to help me to get through it, because I did not feel strong enough. I did not feel like I could handle it. And there were times where I felt like my faith was really tested. And, you know, these are real things that we go through, you know. And to any one of you who have, you know, experienced this, you know, my heart goes out to you, because I understand, you know, that it's difficult and it's really hard and trying, but know that God always has a purpose, and he always, you know, has a plan for your life, even when it doesn't go in the direction that you feel it should. Just trust and know that God loves you, and everything he allows in your life is for a specific purpose in mind. And it's all because he just wants the best for you. And you just have to choose to believe that. You have to choose to trust him, even through the bad, even through the confusing times, even through, you know, the situations that you just don't understand what's going on and why. You just have to, you know, rely on him and hold on to him that much more. And I'm so sorry this video was long, but I mean, you guys, I just don't know how else I could have said everything that was on my heart in such, you know, a short amount of time. So I hope you guys forgive me for this long video, but I just hope you understand that this was truly something I had to take my time and speak on. So I hope this has blessed you in some kind of way. I promise you all, I am in a better place. I do feel better. I, you know, of course, have my moments, you know, it's only natural. But I do still believe that, you know, what the Lord spoke over my life, over my husband's life, you know, as far as us having another child, I do choose to still believe that. And I've learned that I'm not going to do that in my own strength. You know, whatever happens, happens. Whenever it happens, it's going to be on God's time. So I've learned, you know, in that area, I am definitely not going to try to make it happen on my own. So I love you all. I thank you all for watching this whole video all the way until the end. I truly pray it blesses you. If you know anyone who has gone through this, please pass this video on, because, you know, we definitely need to have, you know, moments like this where we can truly be relatable and we can connect to people that are dealing with this, have dealt with it, or may deal with it in the future. So I love you all. God bless you all. If the Lord gives me anything else to share, I will definitely share it with you guys. I will put out additional videos at some point, really going more in depth with, you know, different things that I've learned, the experiences, you know, of, you know, just what all of this entailed. I just tried to keep it kind of, you know, I tried to refrain from giving too many details, but if this is something that you guys would want to know more about, just from an informational point of view, I definitely don't mind sharing that. So again, I love you all. I pray you all have a blessed day. a blessed week. And I will continue to pray for you all. Please continue to pray for me. Thank you all for listening. God bless you all. Bye.
It's me, Jesus, in the need of prayer in my darkest